Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Exploring DC, where we take a piece of DC and explore it with you. I am your host, Josh. With me, as always, is Jalen and Jackson, who's about to make a dramatic entrance of some sort.
Is he?
Maybe.
What's up, guys?
Okay. How are we? How are we doing today?
I need an Adderall refill.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh. What type of water we got? Standard.
no ice.
No. No ice.
No ice today. We're going no ice.
Has it been
It's
like
no
90
ice
degrees
Wednesday.
where you guys are too? Because it was like.
No, it's been 100 degrees.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
So
been
even
90,
worse.
97, 98, somewhere like something.
Yeah, we hit triple digits today.
We hit 78 today, but the past few days were like 90 something.
Who fucking who?
That's cool. Yeah, I don't got much going on. Just been hanging out, watching hit movie Man of Steel 2013.
This is gonna be a fun one.
Real fun one. Yeah, I like why. No prelude. Let's just get into it. Obviously, we know this is another redux of the Superman origin, but this time for the DCEU, which we haven't covered at all yet. I think this is our first little entry into
Shockingly, the first DCEU installment we are doing. Yeah,
that. Is the
In
first
4
one
months.
in 4 months. Yep, took us 4 months, man. Directed by Zack Snyder. Are either of you guys Snyder heads?
Nope. Not me.
what have I seen outside of his DC stuff?
Rebel Moon.
No,
Watchmen?
I low key. That's DC, but I still haven't seen it. I low key think I've only seen these three movies.
Really? Okay.
I'm
I've
trying
seen-
to. Oh no! I saw the zombie movie he did
Oh, Army of the
as
Dead.
well. I did see that with Dave Bautista.
I've seen every Zack Snyder movie,
Everyone, even the
Even-
owl one.
even the Owl one, man.
That's crazy.
I will tell you, it does not get much better than like your DC stuff. Like, there's nothing.
That's kind of what I figured
Wait.
because I really like these three DC movies, but I was
Mhm.
like, I don't think I'm going to like any of these other movies.
I think a lot of people like the 300 movie more than I do,
I will watch that. That's the one I do want to watch.
but I don't. I didn't really love it. I thought it was kind of like overly stylized
Mm.
to a fault. This one's written by David S. Goyer, who's done a bunch of stuff. He did the Blade movies, he did the Dark Knight trilogy, and then obviously he worked with Nolan on the screenplay here. Hans Zimmer did the score. I mean, all timer, top tier. Like, what is there to say, man?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Budget 225 to 258 million, box office 670.1 million. Not bad. I mean, I think that's the highest. Maybe the original Superman did a little better from 78 when you adjust for inflation, but this like it far outpaced Superman Returns and obviously the other three
yeah.
sequels. So it did really well. And then cast here: Henry Cavill as Superman, Amy Adams as Lois Lane, Russell Crowe as Jor-El, Michael Shannon as Zod, Lawrence Fishburne as Perry White, Kevin Costner and Diane Lane, and then a few random ones that are interesting. The Islet Zur, who played Vanessa in Daredevil,
Vanessa,
plays.
we have to send our
Mom.
son to Earth. Vanessa,
Harry
he can't
Lennox.
stay on Krypton.
Harry Lennox plays Swanwick, who isn't like usually notable, but he became Martian Manhunter like later on when they
Yeah.
did the Snyder stuff. So he's in this one, and then Michael Kelly is Steve Lombard, but he's interesting to put because he just was in The Penguin. He was
Yep.
Johnny Vitti.
And also just a very interesting Steve Lombard.
Yeah. This is probably like the cast I'm most familiar with from the previous Superman movies. Like, it's the most like names that like
Yeah,
immediately like I can associate a bunch of other roles, which is interesting. 'Cause
probably
usually the
because
other
it was
Superman
made in the
movies-
year of our Lord 2013.
Right, but even like the 2006 movie had a bunch of people that like aren't really relevant anymore. You know, your Brandon
Yeah.
Routh, your Kate Bosworth. Like, this one, everyone's still relatively working. in
Working,
the
they're
industry.
working. Yeah,
Yeah.
like Lawrence Fishburne was just in that movie with Rami Malek called The Amateur.
And Loki, bro,
That's a real movie.
I think Lawrence Fishburne's my favorite Perry White we've gotten so far.
Until you watch My Adventures with Clark and Lois, or whatever
Oh,
that
yeah.
show is called.
Is that one better?
I'm sorry. You've been dick writing the show for 2 weeks, and I just refuse to believe that the Dean Cain Superman show is good.
From the
I promise you,
90s.
bro. It is incredible.
I do not.
It is-
I
it
just.
is-
I
it
don't
is
buy that. I'm
genuinely-
sorry.
It is genuinely so good, dude.
Wait, what season are you on?
Like nearing the end of season 1.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Have you seen it, Josh?
Mm.
Like
It's so good.
I'm sorry. I just like
Dean
I
Cain
can't
didn't
buy.
motivate me at all. I was like, eh.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
Granted,
Like,
Dean Cain aside, like aside from that, the
Mhm.
show itself is
Okay.
I don't hold on. I actually have a fun Dean Cain thing I can show you.
Oh.
So this is the a Dean Cain movie that I own on Blu-ray. I paid 13.99 for it. It's called Airplane vs. Volcano.
Okay.
It stars Dean Cain, and it's about him in an airplane trying to take down a volcano in the airplane.
Who won?
The airplane won the fight.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Scared me for a second there.
Yeah, no, it's really suspenseful. If you like I don't know, if you like Speed with Keanu Reeves, you'll probably really like this movie. It's like on a similar level of quality.
I haven't seen Speed, but I hear good
That's a good one.
things. Okay. All right. Production history here. So obviously, Superman Returns didn't do as well as they thought. They were gonna do a sequel, but like that plans kind of fell through. Jerry Siegel's family, one of the co-creators of Superman, their estate, they regained the rights in 2009, and basically they were like, if you don't have a new movie in production by 2011, we're gonna sue you for lost rights. A similar thing was happening with the Spider-Man movies. That's kind of why we got the Amazing Spider-Man, because they had to make a movie in a certain time frame. So they got a bunch of pitches. They had Grant Morrison pitch, Mark Waid, Jeff Johns, Mark Millar, and pitched a whole like 8-hour trilogy with Matthew Vaughn, which was
Hmm.
very interesting. The interesting
I
part
remember,
too
yeah, I did hear about this.
was that they wanted Charlie Cox to do Superman, Matthew Vaughn, because he worked with
what?
him on Stardust in back in
Yeah.
2007.
I can't even imagine that.
And guess what? One of the villains was gonna be. If you had to guess a villain of a canceled Superman,
Brainiac.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Of
yeah.
course it is.
Of course, scene of the crime every time, man. But anyways, then like when they were doing story ideas for Dark Knight Rises, so a little bit post Dark Knight, Goyer came up with this idea, and he's like, Nolan, this is how you would do a Superman movie, and he's like, yeah, probably, but I don't want to direct it. I just want to be involved with like the process of it. So then they got they're throwing around a bunch of directors, potential directors they threw around. Guillermo del Toro was gonna do it, but he was gonna make a movie called In the Mouth of Madness. That movie he's been trying to make for forever. So he dropped out of this, but like that movie never got made. So theoretically, he could have stayed on and made Man of Steel himself. But they also had Robert Zemeckis, Darren Aronofsky, Matt Reeves pre the Batman, Tony Scott who did Top Gun, and then Ben Affleck was circling it too. But Ben Affleck didn't feel like he had enough visual effects experience, so he didn't do it. But obviously now he's Batman. And that's pretty much it. The only other thing I thought was interesting after they hired Zack Snyder is that they hired Jay Oliva, who's worked on a lot of the DC animated movies, and he said big inspiration for the third act, because he was a storyboard artist, was
Yeah.
anime fights like Dragon Ball Z, which like,
And
yeah,
that shows, yeah.
yeah. Let's just go prior experience, Jalen. I'll start with you. Where are you at, like, history of this one, man?
Yeah, I want to go see this one in the theater.
Oh, okay.
When it first came out, I want to go see this one in the theater. And I think this is one of the DCEU movies that I've seen the most. This, Batman v Superman, Wonder Woman, and Justice League. I think those four I've seen. Justice League, I mean, those four I've seen the most. And Aquaman. Those five I've seen the most. But with this one, it was like during a time, because I was like 10 years old or something during this time, and it was during a time where we found out that another Superman movie was coming out, and we were like, oh, didn't Superman Returns just come out? Because at the time, a family member who we were staying with was a really big Superman fan.
Okay.
And they kind of kept up with all that. And we went to go see it, man, and I'm going to be honest, I think I walked out hating it the very first time.
Oh,
Like,
really?
The very, very first time.
At 10 years old?
Yeah, I did not like it. I don't remember why I didn't like it, but I just remember not feeling too crazy about it. Until I got during COVID, I did a binge of the DCEU, and it actually turned out to be one of my favorite movies of the DCEU now. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Jackson?
Yeah, I think I also saw this in a theater, and my opinion on it has changed very little since I saw it. I can never quite like this one as much as I want to. And weirdly, rewatching it post, the Superman binge kind of just amplified everything I already felt about it. Like
Yeah.
everything is just more extreme. Everything I dislike more, and everything I like and appreciate, I like and appreciate more. It's just quite a weird anomaly of a fucking movie for me.
Yeah, that's I I'm because I was also around 10, 9 at that time, and I didn't go see this. I wasn't a big theater. Like, I didn't go a lot when I was a kid. I go a lot nowadays.
Yeah.
But I can prove that I'm an OG with this Man of Steel, because in 2013, one of the various merch they had was Lego, right? I had all three Lego sets, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna pull up the receipts. There's
Oh
Lois,
wow.
there's Superman. I just dug all these up today. There's Feora and Zod, and
I didn't even
then
know they made Lego sets of this.
the random army guy. Yeah, bro, look, I found the old set too. It had dust on it, but this is the biggest set they had.
Oh
They only
wow.
had three sets. Anyway, that's so I remember having that as a kid and like playing with those a ton, but I never went to see the movie. And then I saw it at home, and then I've seen it like 7, 8 times, something like that.
Me too.
I've
Yeah.
rewatched it. The last time I rewatched it was right before Black Adam, so I was very, very
That
high
was the
on it.
last time I think that was the last time I also, or it might have been, no, I think the last time I rewatched it was before The Flash.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my last time was for Black Adam, and I was very, very high on it. Like 9 out of 10. This is
Because
awesome.
you knew he was coming back.
I've also just like I grew to appreciate it a little more each time,
Hmm.
and then yeah, when I knew he was coming back, I was like, okay, well, this movie's awesome. And now post that, and now we've had a bunch of, and we've read those Superman comics. Watched My Adventure Superman again. I'm seeing James Gunn Superman. I'm like, this is not exactly the vibe I'm looking for anymore. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's a good start, because this is like tonally very different from the other movies we've
Yeah.
watched. So Jackson, I'll start with you. Like,
All right.
where,
So
how
I
do you
have an
feel about
observation.
this? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can I do a bit of a side tangent? I have an
You always
observation that
do.
ties into what you're asking.
Hmm.
I've noticed that pretty much every single Superman movie we've watched is very much a product of its time. Like
Yes.
very much a product of its time. And this one is no exception. I think this is exactly what you get if you ask someone, "Hey, make a Superman movie post Michael Bay Transformers." This is what you get just about, right? Obviously, like I'm not
Yeah.
saying this has that much in common with Michael Bay's Transformers. This movie is trying to do a lot more and say a lot more than
Hmm.
Michael Bay Transformers 2 Revenge of the Fallen. But aesthetically speaking, and just in terms of vibes and how it shoots its action, or even just the cinematography, it's got this very, 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 very like blue, very, harsh lighting, heavy
Hmm.
film grain. It's very aesthetically in line with a lot of the other blockbusters of its time. Um, and of course, in terms of the music, it's the same way. I mean, uh, tying back to Transformers, oh gosh, Steve, oh God, what is the fucking guy's name that did that movie?
Jablonski.
Steve Jablonsky, yes, thank you. I mean, he was one of Hans Zimmer's underlings, like,
Hmm.
which if you go across 2010's blockbuster films, so many of them are composed by people who
Hmm.
were interns for Hans Zimmer. Henry Jackman, David Flemings, he's co-composing the new one, was an underling for Hans Zimmer. As I said, random side tangent, but like Man of Steel is just very aesthetically in line with a lot of the blockbusters of this time. Granted, it did do a lot of new things that have gone on to inspire other stuff, no doubt. But yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a very real movement that they had in the 2010s where they're like, let's take something that's normally very light, like say we got it with Michael Bay's TMNT, or we got
James
this.
Bond,
This most closely I feel like was the Amazing Spider-Man thing, even
yes,
tonally, where it's like we take something that's usually more lighthearted and like let's make the gritty real world adaptation of
no,
it,
yeah, Dark
and like
Knight,
let's stuff a
James
bunch of random
Bond,
lore in it, and it's like let's make this
TMMT, yeah,
whole.
it happened so much.
It happened a ton, and this feels exactly like that. Like
Hmm.
you can just clock it from that
Yeah.
2011 to 2014 era. Usually is when that ranges. Jalen,
No, and I was about to say that did start, I think, like that big movement began with Michael Bay's Transformers. Like, I don't
mhm.
think the influence that thing had should be understated.
Jalen, tonally, was this like a hard adjustment getting back to this after having watched all the other ones that we watched?
So yes and no. I think like my biggest, I mean, obviously the main thing about this tonally is that the whole dark Superman aspect, it works for a lot of people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But and like I definitely understand where where Zack Snyder is trying to come from with, and David S. Goyer are trying to come from with this story and trying to make it, hit it in that darker lens, especially because too you look at, you know, on the comic side of things, you look at the New 52, which the DCEU heavily pulled its inspiration from, and like the action comics run that was happening during that time, and the Superman comics and the Supergirl comics that were really prevalent and prominent during that time were like really dark, you know, like especially the New 52 Superman. He was not how you would. He didn't have that brightness that you would generally associate with Superman. And I feel like in some aspects it works because it asks some interesting questions, but on the same time, but at the same time, I also feel like it doesn't work because it also has some moments where it's like for DC fans, for Superman fans, for people who go to the movies or who watch this movie expecting to see that that hopeful character, that hopeful superhero, that can brighten your day. You know what I mean? They don't get it, especially when the main controversial question of this movie is when should Superman save and when should Superman just let it be, which is then therefore asked in Batman v Superman in a very, you
Mm-hmm.
know, different type of way. But with this film, Jonathan Kent, when he asked, when you know, when Clark asks him like, "Oh, should I have let those kids die?" and he's like, "I mean, I don't know, maybe," you know, like that. That in itself kind of characterizes the tone of this trilogy or these first five movies of the DCEU before Aquaman. You know, it is that whole thing of like superheroes with no limits, you know, or what does it cost to be a person with superpowers in the universe,
Right.
in this specific universe. It's interesting.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
mean,
I. Good.
I think that what this movie's really trying to get at is it's asking a question that has been beat over the fucking head a million times by present day, a decade later. But
Mm-hmm.
it was kind of one of those first movies to really ask the question, like, what would it look like if Superman was real and was a real person? And I think that is kind of what Snyder was trying to explore with this. And again, obviously, that's something we've seen explored God knows how many times since then. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, and I feel like some parts of it are explored really well. You know, I feel like some aspects of that, like that inner turmoil between Clark and, like I said, I feel like Henry Cavill, you know, he does act well and he does have those moments in Batman v Superman, and you know, this movie where you can see like, you know, that internal struggle of like, oh, should I, you know, should I save them, should I not save them, are the cost of the many bigger than the cost of the few? You know what I mean? Like you do see that inner turmoil, and it is an interesting thing that the film poses to you as an audience member. But it just like you look at it from a comic book perspective, and you look at it from a, you know, from a fan of this type of media, and the fan of the character, and even like for us, like we've been watching all these films leading up to this, and you know, it's like a the majority of it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
In
didn't
that
you just say this was one of your favorite DCU movies?
no, DCEU, DCEU.
DCU.
So yeah, yeah, and I mean it is, you know, just I mean, but that's also not saying much. You know what I mean? The DCEU is not a great
Yeah.
universe. Um, yeah, and like I said, there are aspects of this movie that like I genuinely do really like the fight scenes and the way that he
Mm-hmm.
flies, and you know, especially like the first fight scene, like that is iconic. You
Right.
know, but it is just certain aspects about this movie that I don't think work for me as a Superman and a comic book fan specifically.
No, I think Goyer is a very talented screenwriter. Like undoubtedly, like he's made a lot of cool stuff, especially in the comic book space. And like what he's trying to explore here, yeah, has been done a lot like nowadays. But I think even like what separates is you look at something like The Boys, which is also trying to do like superheroes in real life, but that's a lot more of like what if
It's more
superheroes
cynical.
were
Yeah.
yeah, it's like satire and edge lord and stuff like that. This is more in the
It's
vein of
earnest.
it's also like one of the things they talked about before making it that like Nolan was like you have to do this because they were talking about setting it in the Dark Knight universe. That was always like discussions, but they ended up making it standalone because the idea was is that like Superman is the only being in the universe that is like this. So like this is the first contact they have with anything like supernatural or like that. So how would the world react to that situation? That's why I think it doesn't work as well as part of like a franchise builder, which we can talk about in a later, because it's not designed to be that. It's designed to be like, hey, Superman coming to Earth would be a huge fucking deal,
Yeah.
and like, what would because I mean, if that happened tomorrow here, it would be like it would be a
Hmm.
huge, it'd be a groundbreaking thing. I was even watching a behind the scenes thing, and they were talking about how in prior incarnations, and I think this is true of the reversion as well. When Superman's just kind of like, yeah, I'm from Krypton, I'm an alien. Lois Lane just kind of like shrugs it off, and everyone's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. Like it's just, but in this one, it's a lot more of an impact, and like you can feel the repercussions throughout.
Yeah,
And I
and
think that's
that's
what's
a
most
piece of this I
interesting.
really like. I would almost go to say like that is the most interesting part of this movie. Is there is like this alien invasion aspect to it
Hmm.
that's really cool. That's a really cool angle to take on Superman. I think that it clocks in on a lot of the humanity of it really well too in the first half.
Yes. Hmm.
Emphasis on the first half. Because it's
Yeah.
like I feel like every time I watch this I get tricked, right? I'm like, oh wait, finally this movie's clicking with me when I'm watching the first half. And then Zod pulls up to Earth and it just kind of
I agree.
loses all of its steam for me.
To get into the first half, how do we feel about because they make a big grandiose version of Krypton in the opening sequence. It's 20 minutes long. We get a lot of Russell Crowe and Michael Shannon, and you get the penis pods, you know, popping
Yep, the
out
penis, the dick
and
pods.
everything. And it's like, how do we feel about because it's a very Zack Snyder sequence.
It's
It's a
very
very
Zack Snyder.
it's a very like let's make things bigger and grander and bolder. But I don't know. I do also kind of like the Reeve version of Krypton, which is just like the crystals and like it's concise and simple, but you get the point across. This one, it's like you know Jor-El's jumping off aliens and shit, and it's like the most elaborate version of Krypton that you possibly could have done. I don't know,
I
Jalen. How
like
did you
Russell
like?
Crowe.
You do like? This is Russell Crowe before he lost aura, because I feel like modern Russell Crowe is he doesn't have it anymore.
No, yeah, this was nice guys era Russell Crowe.
Yeah, he was clean. He was clean, man. And now it's Love and Thunder, Russell Crowe, and it's like, oh boy,
When you find out your goat is washed.
goes watch. Yeah, Jalen, how do you feel about Krypton being like as
About
big
the
as it
opening.
is? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was. I remember like as a kid when I first saw it in the theater.
Mm.
Um, this was one of the moments where I could like truly point out that I just did not like.
Okay.
But then I think watching it as I've gotten older and the more times that I've seen it, because I've seen it, 10 plus times. And I think each time I watch it, it kind of grows on me a little
Yeah.
bit. I'm not completely sold on the idea, but it did intrigue me and make me want to explore it more, which is why I like when Krypton, the TV series, was coming out. I thought it was a like an actual exploration of that world, until I found out it wasn't.
Right.
And then I was heartbroken because that show was so good. Josh, have you
So good.
seen Krypton?
Oh,
Yeah,
so
no,
oh,
Krypton
one day we'll talk about it on here because it
yes,
has to be
Krypton
done.
is so good, dude. But like,
Hmm.
it was if the DCEU were to continue, I would have loved to have seen a little bit more of Krypton, of what this Krypton has to offer, especially Kandor, because it seems like everybody wants to do Brainiac, and Kandor is the biggest part of Krypton
Right.
associated with Brainiac, but no one seems to be able to get Brainiac right except for Krypton, ironically enough.
Mm.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah, it's I like respect. It's like the prequels. Like I respect the world building more than I fully engage with it. I'm talking about the prequel movies, like not the Clone Wars and stuff. I'm not talking about
Yeah,
Star Wars, but like
we can
there's
get into
clearly a
Star Wars.
no. We're not gonna get into bro. That's a
Yeah, I
rabbit
won't. I
hole.
won't. I won't stop.
Anyway, like it's the same style of like clearly Zack Snyder has a vision and a big scope for what it is, and it's like, but I there needed to be more of an emotional like through line to really connect me to a lot of it. Jackson, Zack Snyder, you've only seen a couple of his movies. but
Yes.
you know all his signature flares. Like you know the
Oh, of
slow mo,
course.
you know the
I mean,
grittiness.
the Snyder represents himself very well with these
Hmm.
DC movies, you
Do
know?
you do you like this direction that we got from him in this one? Because I mean, it definitely evolves over the course of his three movies, and this is him his least like I don't know, sure of himself, I guess. Where by the Snyder cut, I feel
Yes.
like he's like fully locked into DC,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
this one he's kind of experimenting a bit more.
I'm gonna. It's This is gonna be a very funny set of reviews because I'm gonna be so lukewarm on this, and I'm gonna be dick riding the fuck out of the other two.
Yeah, that's fast. That's fascinating to me because this is my favorite of the three.
Yeah, this is my least favorite of the three by a pretty significant margin.
Hmm.
This is your favorite. This is really your favorite of the three.
As of now, I mean, it could change in two
Wow.
weeks.
No, dude, I think BVS is a mark I mean, we'll get to BVS next week, but I think it's an improvement in every category.
Yeah. So, do you feel like he delivered here though with direction and
Yeah, I mean, it's a good-looking movie. I don't the action in the third act, it feels like once you hit the Smallville fight, that's kind of when the movie loses me. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I just I whenever it goes back to his action scenes, it kind of feels like its sense of humanity kind of gets stripped away. I know there's always been this long and frankly very annoying debate over the third act and how many people die. I have problems with it for reasons that a lot of other people kind of don't. It's just that my problem isn't inherently that a bunch of people die. It's just that the movie doesn't totally care. You know what I'm saying? Like you look at the end and it's like it looks apocalyptic. The the place that they're in. And granted, I will give BBS credit. It goes back and really humanizes some of those events, but at the same time, Man of Steel doesn't. You know what I'm saying?
right? No, I get you. I think the third act, to jump a little bit, I think the problem there is that, like you said, it just gets too big for its own good, and it kind of loses touch
Yeah.
with itself. And it's like the anime fights are cool to an extent, but when you think about it on a deeper level, it's like, oh, I. I think a good comparison is that, like, in the first Avengers movie, New York gets destroyed and everything, but I
Yeah.
don't feel like the carelessness that I do in this one.
Because there's an emphasis on civilians in that movie, right? Like
Hmm.
random civilians. In this, you're following Perry and the Daily Planet crew. You're not following random civilians who are just happening to get caught up in the violence, right?
Right. It, there's
And
just
granted,
no.
exactly what I'm saying right now led to that really fucking terrible subplot in Justice League. So maybe I should just shut the hell up.
No, but I feel like there's. I appreciate that it like is somber in a way. Like it
Hmm.
could recognize it. Like when Superman screams at the end, it's very much
Yeah.
like, look at all that's happened. But
Yeah.
I needed a little more liveliness in the actual fights to like, because you see like IHOP getting destroyed in all these places, but you don't feel like
There's a
anything.
really hilarious shot. Oh God, what was it? There was this. There was like it was after the Smallville fight, and it cuts to this wide, and you just see like a Union Pacific train, and then you see another big ass store logo. Was it a home? It wasn't a Home Depot. What was it? Shit.
I don't remember.
It was like it was seared into my brain for like all day because I thought it was so funny. But sorry,
Mm.
that was a complete side tangent. But yeah, there was some like really funny brand drops.
Yeah, I think the other thing with the third act too is that, like we talked about, it just goes on forever. Like it does
Hmm.
not. And I think half this movie is the third act. At least it feels like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost an hour. It feels
It
like.
is. It reminds me a lot of like Dark of the Moon, where they're in the Transformers movie where they're fighting in Chicago for like the whole movie.
Yes.
But in that movie, that's like the highlight. In this movie, it's like
That
the
is the best
pitfall.
part of that movie, isn't it?
Right. Jalen, I don't like. Are you a big anime guy? Is there definitely is anime influences here?
I
I
am
like.
not a big anime guy.
How do you feel about? Because this fight is way bigger than any of the other fights we got in any of the other movies. Like all the other movies have really small scale third acts. I would say
You mean like
of what we
other
watched so far.
DCEU movies or
No,
you mean
other
other
Superman movies so
yeah,
far.
other Superman movies? Yeah, yeah, it definitely has all felt small scale. That's actually one of the things that I kind of liked was the fight scenes. I mean, I was like
Really? Okay.
enthralled in them enough to where I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. Like even like the opening fight where Christopher Maloney was about to hit homegirl with a knife, and the Superman just comes out of nowhere and then tackles her into the ground. It's a cool like cool little small moment. Some of it does feel a little too choreographed, in my personal opinion, for a
Mm-hmm.
Superman who has never fought, a day in, who has never actually fought a day in his life and has no training.
Yeah.
Um, you know, ironically enough, there have been some comic runs where Black Canary, Green Arrow, and Wildcat teach Superman how to truly box,
Okay.
because he gets like uh, the kryptonite that makes him lose his powers for a while. I think it's red kryptonite, if I'm not mistaken. No, red
Hmm.
kryptonite makes him angry. It's one of those kryptonites that
All
makes
right.
him lose his powers for a good amount of time. And there was a villain I also forget they had to face in the comic run, and then it was like he went to Green Arrow, Black Canary, and Wildcat to like really help him, you know, train up.
Oh,
Um,
neat. Yeah.
yeah,
But in
so
this
it's
one,
like
he's just like ready to go. Like in
yeah,
this
yeah,
movie. Yeah.
dude is just like ready, especially like, there was one where he and, I think her name was Feora, Feora, and Non, I believe was the
Mm-hmm.
big dude's, big homie's name, were like going back and forth, and I was like, you know how to take on two trained Kryptonian warriors, and you've never had to fight really a day in your life so far.
Yeah.
Those are the moments where I was like, the fight scene is good, but it doesn't make sense thematically, and that kind of took me out of it a tiny bit. But other than that, pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how close all the planet people and even Martha get in the conflict. Like Lois is full on the ship with like an alien gun shooting people, and I'm like, I thought it felt really out of place, but then it also felt like something they do on maybe My Adventures of
This
Superman.
is a
But I feel like it
good
works better in an
segue.
animated
Yeah,
context, you know?
because I was
This
just
is a
about to ask you
good
guys about
segue
Lois,
to
and let's
how
talk about
much
Amy
Amy
Adams.
Adams sucks as
Yeah,
Lois.
Okay.
yeah,
Give me Rupert
Terrible
Jackson.
Lois.
Not a fan.
Well, I'm going to go a step further. I don't think her or Cavill are particularly captivating in this movie.
Ooh.
I would say of the lead cast, Michael Shannon and then Ma and Pa Kent are the three best performances in this movie.
Okay. See,
I
I
think
love
I
Henry. I love Henry Cavill.
yeah. I would even go a step further than that and say that out of the three Supermen that we've seen so far, along with like obviously the one that I've seen, the
mm,
CW one,
Mm.
nah, nah. There
I would
is
say
no
that
way.
I would
There is
say that
no
Cavill is
way.
my least
You
favorite
are
one
on.
out of them
Oh,
all.
oh.
Least
Least
favorite.
favorite? Oh, I thought you were
Least
about to
favorite.
say he was your favorite, and I was about to say
No,
you're on
no, 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 no,
crack.
no. He is my least favorite of the three that we've watched so far, and Tyler Hoechlin.
I think the thing
And
Um,
is
the
with
live action Superman too.
the thing with Henry Cavill is that he looks so cool.
he
Like
does,
he
and he's
has
so
hype
jacked.
moment. He has hype moments in aura,
He
and I
does.
think that distracts some people from the fact that he's not very good in this movie.
You know
Like
what?
it genuinely does feel like
You know
I'm
what?
gonna get, I'm
No, no,
gonna
no,
get,
no.
I'm gonna get crucified for saying this.
Don't say it.
It's given Hayden Christensen in the prequels.
Oh, fuck you, man. Fuck you, man.
Really?
It's given Hayden Christensen. It's not quite that bad because he's not. I don't know. It's not quite that bad. Specifically, Hayden Christensen in Revenge of the Sith. It's just it's really dry, and it's not dry in a
Like,
way that I think is particularly interesting. It's not horrible because I also don't think Hayden Christensen is horrible. Let me preface this by saying that I don't think he's terrible in Revenge of the Sith, and I don't think Cavill is terrible here. But they suffer from a lot of the same issues for me. And
Mm-mm.
I'm sorry. Listen, hear me
No,
out. I,
no, I'm
I
not. I'm hearing.
but even worse is Amy Adams. I think, and let me also say, I don't think this is her fault at all. I do not blame a single bit of my issues with Lois on her because she has proven time and time again to be a very, 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 very capable actress. She's
Mm.
just given fuck all the work within this movie. I really just don't think the writing services her, nor does the direction.
No, I agree.
I
Um,
feel like that's the same thing for Cavill though, to an
no,
extent.
it is. I agree with
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
I'm not going to disagree with that. And I actually because I think Cavill is better in the other two movies too.
I feel like the Joker meme where he's smoking, he's like, you just wouldn't get it. Like you just don't.
No, no, no.
Cavill
But see, the
Cavill
thing is,
here
I think
Wait,
Cavill is
is
Josh.
better
awesome.
in BBS and Man of
Why?
Steel. I think he's better in both these other movies.
Wait, so Josh, why Cavill like here? What is like?
Like when you think about what this movie is going for with the realistic version of Superman, the Christ-like allegory and all this stuff, I think Cavill
Oh, we haven't
plays.
talked about God yet, have we?
No, we haven't. But
We
like
haven't gotten there yet.
what this movie is trying to be, I think Cavill's more subdued take works really well for it. When if you brought in the Reeve or the Brandon Routh style of like I don't know sincerity to that degree, I think it wouldn't fit into what Snyder was trying to do here. And I
I'm
think
not saying
Cavill
that's what it needs. That's
Cavill
not.
really plays well with all the like struggles and internal struggles and finding his place in the world. I think he plays off those scenes really well. Like you think the scream is corny, like and it kind of is out of context, but when you fully get into it, it really works for me. Or even some of the stuff with him. I mean, I even love the stuff of him on the boat, or like
That was a good scene.
him in the church talking to the pastor. I feel like there's a lot.
That's one of the best scenes of the movie, like low key. I really like that scene.
I he feels larger than life in a way that Superman does feel like in general.
Yes, and I will agree with you there that he captures that angle really well. But I feel like when it comes to the actual sincerity of Superman, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I feel like this movie would have benefited from having more warmth to Superman, just a little bit more. Uh,
Right.
because I think then it would have contrasted really well when he is portrayed as this kind of larger than life figure. You would have a sense of contrast because it feels like for most of the movie he is just this, you know.
I just don't think he's inhabiting really an atmosphere, an environment that like constitutes a warm presence. Because like with how they set up his upbringing and all that, which there's controversial stuff in there. The whole Jonathan Kent being like, "No, I can just
That's
die,"
so fucking funny.
which we'll get
I'm
into.
sorry, that scene is so funny.
I want to get into like right after that, but I think Cavill. I don't know, man. There's something about him. He
It-
is not the Superman that I love the most, which is like we've talked about previously with the comics and with Christopher Reeve. Like I love that version of Superman, but for what this is going for, I also love this version, and I think that extends across all three movies.
Let me just say, I do like Cavill as Superman quite a bit.
Hmm.
It's just that this is my least favorite showing of him. That's kind of where my problems are. I
Really?
really like
Okay.
Cavill as Superman. This is just my least favorite movie of Cavill as
I would
Superman.
say the Snyder stuff is my least favorite because he's not really in it that much.
The Snyder Cut?
Hmm.
Yeah, but when he comes back, he's fucking awesome.
Yeah, but like, there's not much to chew on there. Where at least Man of Steel and BVS has a lot to chew on with his character.
Sure, but I think from a performance standpoint, I like Cavill in the Snyder Cut just a tad bit more, I think. But also, there is an overarching issue of the fact that him and Amy Adams have like negative chemistry
No,
the
no
entire fucking
chemistry
time.
at
It's
all.
terrible. It's like you want to talk about it, they have the level of chemistry that Natalie Portman and Hayden Christensen do in the prequels. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, I was trying to buy into it, and I
But
unfortunately
again,
did not.
it's also it's the writing again. I don't think the writing does these two any favors as a unit, and that's the same problem it has in BVS. I just don't think the writing really
I
services them well at all.
I don't hate the angle that she knows it's Superman like off the rip. Like there's no,
No, that's fine.
especially
That was
after what we've
honestly
been dealing with these other
that was
Superman
kind of
movies. I was
refreshing.
like,
I'm not even gonna lie. That was genuinely kind of refreshing to just rip that Band-Aid straight off.
hmm
That was one of the angles that I appreciated more this time around. Was just, all right, we're skipping the bullshit and we're getting straight into it.
right.
And it makes that ending is really cool. I like that. I kind of forgot how awesome that build up to Clark putting on the glasses is. That stuff that works really well.
It's fucking rad, bro.
It
He's
is.
like, I need a job where I can go into dangerous situations. I'm
No,
like,
that was
yeah,
dope. I fucked with that a lot.
no, let's transition. The perfect Midwestern parents, if you want to cast people, Kevin Costner, Diane Lane, like the
They're
Yellowstone
perfect.
guy, like it's all you need. But the Jonathan scene sucks every time I watch it
It's
because
so bad.
I don't hate the concept of him being like, you should hide your powers. If people find out who you are, they're gonna experiment on you, blah blah
Hmm.
blah. I get that. My whole thing is
It's
that
the way
when
he
the
dies.
no, when the dog's in the car, just go send Clark and have Clark somehow survive. Like, why did your dumbass go for the dog?
No,
Yeah,
there.
and
That's my whole thing.
yeah, yeah. So even for me, like it's bigger than just like that moment, and it's bigger than just like the moment where he's like, oh, maybe you should have let those kids die. I think it's this whole, the way that they've characterized Jonathan Kent in this movie, where he is so anti, you know, Clark using his powers, even in
Hmm.
situations where it's like it would be wrong to not use your powers because you have them and because you have this ability. And like you're thinking about kind of like, okay, if you use your powers, the government is going to take you away, and like someone finds out and like they tell or whatever, right? The government is going to take you away from me. But then it's also a thing too of like, can you imagine what that would be like for Clark if he, say listens to Jonathan and he's like, okay, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I'm getting myself free, but I'm watching these kids drown and I can do something, but I
Hmm.
can't risk someone finding out. You know what I mean? So I'm just gonna watch these kids die. Like, can you imagine what that would do to Clark? And I
Yeah.
think that there is a way to have that conversation. And I mean, look at what we talked about last week. Like, For All Seasons had that in the Jonathan Kent section, and it
It
did it
does. It does.
infinitely better,
Infinitely
in
better.
every way imaginable.
Yeah.
So it's like I just think that it failed on all avenues with that
Hmm.
character of Jonathan Kent and with what he stands for.
Hmm. The tornado scene is just very contrived and
Yeah.
dumb. And again,
And it feels like
like,
something out of a 2010s blockbuster.
and he's doing the Chris Pratt, like, stop, Clark, don't
It's
do
so
it.
funny. It's so funny.
Also, there is no way he would still be on the ground as the tornado is encompassing him
Well,
as
also,
he's like raising his
first off,
hand. Like
I'm already pissed off he wouldn't go send Clark after the dog because he knows Clark would survive. So just go send Clark after the dog and have him run out. No one would notice anything. His powers wouldn't be revealed. But then, two, he just stops after a while and he's like, okay, I'm just gonna accept my fate to the tornado. Like, bro, you didn't even try to run. Like
Yeah.
his poor wife, bro. He didn't even give an effort. He just gave up like instantly. And
yeah.
that's what pissed me. I just feel like he's being a dumbass with this tornado, bro. Like he was not. But whatever. I don't hate the idea. I just think the execution is very funny, especially how he delivers the line when they're talking about the bus. He's like, maybe you should have just let him die. Like it plays so cold when he says it. Like it's not like
Yeah.
it turns out very funny to me. Um Zod. We saw Zod before in Superman 2. This is essentially the same exact story.
It
But
literally is the same thing.
In Superman 2 it's a lot goofier because of the time and just how everything is. Jackson, do you like this updated version with all
I
the effects and everything?
Michael Shannon's very good in this role.
Haircut is crazy. I mean, he has the
Crazy cut.
haircut. He has the haircut I have right now, but like
Yeah.
with his little goatee thing and everything, it's ridiculous. But I don't. I wish we got more from his like side characters.
Yeah. Everybody hypes up that girl. What's her name? I don't remember.
Feora.
Fiora.
Yeah, everybody like always gasses her up, and I never quite understood it. Like
She
she's
looked
cool,
pretty.
but she's like the equivalent of Boba Fett, where I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Boba Fett in Empire.
Yeah, Boba Fett in the original trilogy, of course.
Yeah, it's just like a.
He's
Uh,
yeah, cool. She's cool,
and
and she's in the Flash.
even if you want to talk about background characters that Zod had, like in Superman 2, he has that really tall 6 foot
That dude is
guy
fucking
that has
hilarious.
aura, and Feora and Nan do not have that aura.
Yeah,
Yeah. I know people like don't people have mixed feelings about the suits. I really like all the suits in this one, even with
I
like the
fuck with the
trunks and
suits.
everything. They're really sleek and stylized, but not in a way that's over stylized like you see a lot
Yeah,
in modern comic book movies. But it still feels modern, like it has that modern
yeah,
aesthetic without having all the lines and shit.
yeah. No,
Generally, like the
it's a good suit.
you a fan, Jay?
I
Yeah.
am. I am. I actually like. I think between this, his suit. I mean, I we'll talk about it when we get to Zack Snyder's Justice League. But I think this is
Hmm.
maybe my favorite. One that he wears throughout his tenure. But
I would agree with that.
I also the little bit that we could see from the Black Adam appearance, I really liked that, like that brighter blue,
Yeah. I mean, it was
And
just the same thing with kind of less muted colors, right?
I believe so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That suit
Mm,
I thought was really sick, but we didn't really see enough of it to really take it in. But this one I think is my favorite out of his appearances. So yeah.
yeah. I think the last thing I really wanted to touch on that's interesting here is that how do you guys feel about this movie starting a franchise? Because in my opinion,
I have
it
thoughts
works
about
a lot
this.
better as like a standalone thing that could have been followed up with a sequel. And BVS is its own thing. I think the fact that they built a whole universe on this particular movie is fascinating.
Yeah,
On that point, I'll let you go first, Jalen.
it feels it feels kind of like how the Dark Knight trilogy was, where it would have been better as a trilogy and nothing else. But I'll go ahead and let Jackson, because I might piggyback off of him.
Wait, they oh
Well,
you
so
I was gonna say the Dark Knight didn't do anything else, right? You're just
Yeah,
saying
yeah, 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 exactly.
it should have been like that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, see that's the funny thing is that it functions pretty well as a trilogy. It doesn't. It offhandedly mentions Wonder Woman like twice in
In this movie?
Zack Snyder's Justice League and BVS. I'm talking about the broad trilogy, right? Because you're talking about this movie, how
Hmm.
weird it is as a franchise starter. But I would question how much Snyder thought about it that way. I truly would. I I,
Hmm.
I don't get the sense that
No,
Snyder ever.
it wasn't intended to be a franchise story. I
Yeah,
don't think at all.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I think that like if you look at the plans, which we'll talk about, I'm sure in the Snyder Cut video, you look at the plans for his 2 and 3 of Justice League, it was clear that he had like a very finite ending in mind.
Hmm.
Like he had a very specific point he was getting to, and he was going to flashpoint it and then let people do whatever the fuck they wanted, right?
Yeah.
So when I view this trilogy specifically, I don't look at it through the lens of like, oh, this is supposed to be the mainline DC universe. It's very clearly Zack Snyder's DC. Um,
No, but even in that self-contained bubble, right? For the
mhm.
Snyder movies, I think retroactively it's interesting. This movie feels like the whole premise is Superman is the first being to
Yeah.
come. And what would that be like? There's nothing else that exists. But retroactively, Wonder Woman's existed for forever. Batman's been around for forever. Aquaman, people have retconned as him is the one that saves Superman when he like falls into
Hmm.
the after the oil rig, and even
Yeah.
Martian Manhunter is supposed to be the general, right? Like it's interesting that that's all like true now, where this movie doesn't play like that. This movie plays like Superman is the first thing ever, and everything would happen after him. But really, he's like the fourth or fifth creature to enter. Even if you talk about the self-contained Snyder stuff,
Yeah. I get,
that's where it's interesting.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, I feel like they do a good enough job at showing how much these other people, because that's how I think it usually is in DC, right? Like when Superman comes out, slowly all the other powered beings kind of emerge with him, right?
Hmm. But
And
Wonder
I
Woman
think
was
that
like prominent, you know.
Wonder Woman was prominent, but like she was a myth at this point.
I guess, yeah, that's true. It's
So
just
I
interesting
don't
to.
really I never felt like BVS or Zack Snyder's Justice League
Mhm.
ever retroactively made like lessen the impact of Man of Steel to me at least.
I think BVS and Zack Snyder's feel like franchise movies, where this one doesn't feel like a franchise movie at all. That's what I'm like trying to say. It just feels like
I can
a
agree with
standalone
that.
movie that they just
Yes.
made into more stuff.
I can agree with that.
It'd be kind of like if they started like if they add the Batman into the DCU, future the Batman movies could feel like a franchise thing, but the Batman in its state right now just feels like a standalone little
Yeah.
pocket. You know what I mean? Similar vibe. Anyway, wrap it up. How we feeling? Thumbs up, thumbs down. What are we gonna do with this one?
Middle.
I'll go middle. I'll go middle.
Middle. All right. I'll stand alone. One thumbs up, two middles.
BVS is getting 2 thumbs up for me. That movie's
All
awesome. I
right.
might watch it again. I just watched it a month ago. I might watch it again.
Yeah. I will get into that with you next week because I don't see how you like BVS, but like don't vibe because it's the same. It's the same vibe, man. It's the same
But one of
energy.
them is better. I'm telling you.
You're
And
right.
one
And
of them
One
has,
is better.
and
One of them
listen,
is better.
listen, only one of them has Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor.
yeah,
Only one
only
of
one.
them.
only one of them has that first flight sequence, and it's this movie with the Jor-El speech that's like top tier.
That's a good scene. That's the best scene in the movie.
Yeah. I got a couple trivia things here for y'all. Aaron Smolinski plays a communications officer in this. He played little baby Superman in Superman 78.
Oh,
He's
wow.
in this one. This one
I
was
thought,
great.
I hear baby, and I think Baby Joey now. It's bad.
Guys, off air we've been talking about Baby Joey a lot, and I'm just
We have. It's been bad.
I'm really excited for Baby Joey and
I'm
Superman
really
2025.
fucking excited for Baby Joey.
I'm excited.
They're making toys of Baby Joey, but there's not a single Lois Lane toy. How fucked up is that?
I think it's fucked up that Baby Joey isn't the only toy they're making, but I agree. Anyways, this one, are y'all prepared for this one? I did not know this.
All right, let's hear it.
Originally cast as Feora, but had to drop out due to pregnancy, Miss Gal Gadot. So there's another timeline here.
We could have dodged a bullet, man. Fuck.
And I think, honestly,
She has a kid?
she fits this character more than Wonder Woman.
I agree with you. That's insane. I didn't know this. Dude, we could have dodged a massive bullet. That sucks.
Yeah, and I liked her first Wonder Woman movie because it plays into Gadot's strengths, but then after that, it's like, all right. And we'll talk about it with the Snyder stuff and BVS and all that. But anyway, would have been a completely different era. Superman.
That's wild.
Superman runners up. A few people that I'm not super familiar with. A few interesting ones though. Armie Hammer, our favorite cannibal guy.
Yep.
Matt Bomer was really close to making the, like, he did a commercial Superman. He voiced Superman in an animated movie. I feel like he was in contention for some of the other movies where Cavill was too, like Superman Returns. This is the guy that was he was Negative Man in Doom Patrol. Yeah. There was a very serious chance that he was going to be Superman for the time being, and I think that would have been interesting to see that because I like him.
Yeah, he's good. And he looks the part too.
Joe Manganiello, who played Deathstroke in one scene in the DCEU, was apparently, I think he would have been too tall. A little bit.
How old would he have been when that happened?
He's not that old, is he? He's only like 50.
No, maybe it's the gray hair that he gets in as Deathstroke that throws me off.
Yeah, he's not that old.
He's not.
But anyway.
But I thought he was a little older than Cavill.
He's a very tall guy, so I feel like that would have been maybe too much. And then my favorite interesting one here, Zac Efron, star of High School Musical.
That's crazy.
Troy Bolton could have been Superman, man. But, so when Zack Snyder called Henry Cavill to get the call to play Superman, he missed his call because he was playing World of Warcraft. Like, I fuck with Henry Cavill's video game addiction so much because now he's doing Warhammer and stuff.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad with everything that happened with him and the future of Superman post Snyder Cut because he seems like such a genuinely awesome dude. And I'm like, what? They screwed him over, man, time and time again. That's okay. Only live-action Superman movie without Jimmy Olsen. This movie could have used some Jimmy Olsen.
It could have used some Jimmy Olsen.
That's gonna be an interesting conversation.
I have no defense for that, and that is stupid. But it's so funny. I have no defense for that. Like, I'm a big BVS fan. You'll never catch me defending that stupid ass
I
thing
texted
or
y'all,
whatever the hell.
I texted y'all when I was watching this movie. They fucked up Jimmy Olsen, but they also fucked up Pete Ross in this movie because that is Superman's childhood best friend, and in this movie he looks like Rowley from There Wimpy Kid, and he's like a bully.
Yeah.
And I don't understand. I mean, just name the character something else. Like, don't do that to him.
I kind of forgot Lana Lang was in this movie.
Oh yeah, she's like doesn't do anything.
No, she's there for a scene.
But they flip Lois and Lana's hair colors because
And
Lana
it pisses me off.
Like Amy Adams. Just dye your hair, man. I don't know. Whatever. Henry Cavill does not speak until the 32-minute mark in this movie.
Yo, I remember seeing that, and I was like, there's no way. And then I watched it, and I was like, dog, he really does not.
He just doesn't talk a lot. Like, I know there's a stat that, like,
And it's cool.
It is. Spider-Man has more lines in Civil War than Cavill has in BVS.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't speak a lot in this trilogy. Like even in Zack Snyder's Justice League, he is a man of very few words.
I think that's
Yep.
why like it feels so larger in life because when he does speak, it's usually like something. He's not just spouting
He
stuff
doesn't. He's
all the
not a
time.
yapper.
He's not joking, doing the quips and stuff. Like when he's speaking, like it's plot heavy or
Yeah.
some shit, you know. And then this one, I guess we already talked about the final fight, but I thought it was interesting. According to Zack Snyder, he estimates about 5,000 people died during Superman and Zod's final fight, which feels like a lot, but then his
You see?
context was like he's like think about New York and how many people died during the Avengers fight, and then like all those buildings that get smashed. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it would make sense that because a city would have millions of people in it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, because
still,
yeah, I mean, when
5,000 feels like a lot when you like just hear the number.
when you truly think about it, the Avengers final battle, which they do touch on in Civil War, but still,
Yeah.
that Avengers final battle, that body count is probably very similar to
Mm-hmm.
the Black
So,
Zero event.
Yeah.
but it's funny when I was reading the interview. He's like, yeah, I don't know, probably about 5,000. I'm glad you cared as much as Henry Cavill Superman clearly does in this movie.
Yeah.
That's all I got for that. We can move into news.
All right, let's do some news.
Nicholas Holt Lex Luthor Fortnite skin is rumored.
I won't get it because I don't play Fortnite, but that's
Okay,
awesome.
imagine the amount of aura I'll have when I pull
No,
up
that's tough.
as the bald man.
That's tough.
Me and Jalen might do it.
And he's just so
Should.
bald. He's
We
Fortnite.
should.
so bald.
We
We
should.
should.
I'll play Fortnite. No, if you guys play Fortnite, I'll play Fortnite.
We need to do a little Fortnite thing for the pod at some point when the powers come out, which I don't think comes out till the movie.
All
Or
right,
would
yeah,
it?
I'll hop on.
We should have Luis on as a guest for that episode since he plays Fortnite, and it would be 4, which
Yes,
is like a whole sport.
it'll be 4. We'll do something fun. Speaking of games, though, bigger thing, Warner Brothers games. We talked about like week 2 of this pod about how it's all falling apart, right?
Yeah.
They're restructuring into 4 different things, each focusing on IP. So like one's focusing on Lord of the Rings. I forget what the other 2 were that they're focusing on. But anyway, one studio is now focused on specifically Mortal Kombat and DC Universe games, and it's being ran by the NetherRealm head. NetherRealm does all the Mortal Kombat stuff. What this tells me is that if we're getting a DC game in the future, it's Injustice 3. Or another Mortal Kombat versus DC game. Which, I don't know. I have big history with Injustice. I mean, I played it a ton as a kid.
I
So.
did.
Oh yeah, no,
I
Injustice is like you didn't.
You didn't, man. I played a ton of it. Jackson,
Yeah,
this is news to me.
I not a big Mortal Kombat or Injustice person.
Really?
Yeah.
Jalen, you played a lot of it?
Yes, like, yo, like
Dude,
Injustice
I
used to
played
be
the
my
Injustice
thing,
mobile
man.
game like crazy. The mobile version. I had it on my phone.
Dude.
Would grind out.
Who
I
is
missed this.
who is your favorite character to use in Injustice?
In the
Mine
mobile
had to
version, I
be-
have to think about it. But in the console version was Lobo. I
console.
loved Lobo.
Lobo. Mine was Green Arrow.
Okay.
Yeah, Green Arrow, and ironically enough, Green Lantern. I always gotta
Yeah.
rap for my boys,
Right.
but yeah, Green Arrow was like that,
Yeah.
in Injustice, especially like when he had that move where I just like he would just spam the shooting his
Mm.
arrows at people. People would get so mad whenever I would play online, and they would like literally get on the mic and like cuss me out and stuff like that. But it's always fun to get that type of reaction when you're gaming against somebody.
Yeah, I think in a broader sense, though, I'm just hoping that this hopefully saves DC games because, like, the past couple years, all we got was Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad, and those were not well reviewed. And I'm just hoping for a bit of return to form because DC was cranking out some good stuff back in the
Yeah.
Arkham era, and now it's like Marvel's kind of overtaken it as
I was about to
Marvel's
say
doing everything,
that's the one area where DC used to kind of make Marvel their bitch.
and now Marvel's making it. Marvel makes
I
a
know, it's
million
crazy.
games a year, like, and on top of that, they have like the Spider-Man PS4 stuff and a bunch of big
Yeah.
stuff, and DC has a Suicide Squad game that people like
Nobody
made fun
liked.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. We don't talk about comic news a lot, mostly because we're not reading as much, but they are doing those DC crossovers. I think, did we talk about the first one being Deadpool Batman a little bit? I think
No.
so. No? How did you feel about Deadpool and Batman being the first, like,
That's so fucking stupid.
yeah, Jalen?
I agree with Jackson. It's stupid. It's
Yeah,
not
You
I
great.
think it's all.
compare Batman with anybody else, and it would be more interesting.
It's just totally not that. It's like again, it's like Wolverine, Deadpool.
Well, it's obvious. I think
Hmm.
that's the worst part, is that that's so fucking obvious.
It's like
And
Superman,
it's
Spider-Man level of like, okay, yeah, well,
yeah, exactly. It's like you compare Batman up or with like anybody else, and it would probably be cooler. Even if you wanted to pair him up with a comedic character, you could probably find more interesting
Batman
comedic
Nightcrawler.
character. Yeah,
Goat.
or like literally anybody.
Anyway, we got three ones that I think are a lot better here. Jeff the Land Shark and Crypto are crossing over.
Fucking stupid. But you know what?
Eh,
Honestly, I can't complain. Like
it's
that.
gonna be it's gonna be cute.
Fine.
It'll be fun. Daredevil, Green Arrow.
I fuck with that heavy.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I think that's in the Batman. It's like a Batman Deadpool variant cover, so I'm wondering if it's in the same comic. Like I'm curious how the whole thing works. And then one that is obvious, but in a way that I like, is Wonder Woman, Captain America crossing over,
Yes, I like that.
where it's like, yeah, that makes sense, but in the right way.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna read these. I'm curious
Are they
how
doing
they end up
more?
going.
Like, is this all they're doing?
Because they said Magic is supposed to be in one of them, but I don't know who she's crossing over with.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know when these come out. All the
And is this
information
like,
about
all
it.
right, so we don't, I guess we don't know much. Is this like building up to a big event or no?
I think these are one shots.
Oh, okay.
So very fast. Hopefully, when they come out, we can maybe talk about them
Yeah.
on the thing. But I don't know when. But those were. I just saw the news that those are some of the crossovers, and I thought they were interesting.
Nice.
And then the last thing we talked about last week, how James Gunn said they killed a project, and I was like, it's probably Sergeant Rock.
Yeah.
It is not Sergeant Rock because he had
Where is this
another
coming from?
interview. He had another interview with EW, and they were talking about it. And he was like, yeah, progress on that is a little slower now, but it's still in development and moving forward and chugging along.
Oh,
Which
good.
means I think what happened is just that there's no Luca anymore, which felt like a pipe dream in the first place.
Yeah.
So I think
So
they're
what
just
do you
gonna get a new director.
what do you think the project is that he like said they just outright killed?
The Authority,
Yeah, I bet it's the Authority.
like 100%, like because he had already talked about the struggle of that being a big live action movie, and it's not Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't think it has the charming level to that. I think it very much reads as Eternals, where it would not make money.
Yeah.
So I think that's like the only other thing, maybe Booster Gold, because everything else he's talked about.
I thought
Oh,
Booster
yeah.
Gold was a
Slate.
show, though.
It is, but they were having a lot of issues with Booster Gold, like behind the scenes, with like.
But I don't think it's
showrunners.
that. Because he's talked about Waller, he's talked about Paradise Lost, he's talked about a lot of these other things. The two things he hasn't mentioned recently are Authority and Booster Gold, and I think it's Authority. If I had to bet money on.
And of course, Swamp Thing is just because of James Mangold. He has to finish that, and then Brave and the Bold, he's having issues with for other reasons. I'm
And I
interested to
just I don't see him killing Booster Gold either. That just seems too up Gunn's alley.
I'm interested to see how many of these like Chapter 1 projects, aside from like the ones that we already know, are like officially coming out and have like official dates and years, are actually gonna come out from that original video that he announced.
Yeah.
Where he announced everything.
Yeah.
So
There's not as many movies as part of that slate as you'd think. Like half of it was TV shows. I think they had Superman, Supergirl, Swamp Thing, Authority, and
Brave and the Bold.
Brave and the Bold. And all of those, except for Authority, feel like movies that would actually come out. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, man. But anyway, Sergeant Rock is not dead. I just think, because they already had a few cast members. They had Colin Farrell, they had Mike Fayeströmer, David Johnson from Alien Romulus. Like, they had stuff going. I think they're going to keep all of that and ditch Luca. Because Luca's going to do what he does and make all his cool movies.
Yeah.
But I don't know who I would get to direct Sergeant Rock.
Denis Villeneuve.
Denis Villeneuve. I mean, he's already doing everything, right?
He's doing James Bond, apparently.
Can't
He's
wait.
doing James
Can't
Bond.
wait.
We
Not
found this out
apparently.
like an hour
He
ago.
is doing it.
Oh, he is? Oh.
No, this isn't even like a rumor.
Anyway. That's it for this week. Next week, we're going to talk about BVS. Thank you, everyone, for listening.